convert fractions and decimals. So the fraction bar represents division. To convert a fraction to a decimal, we divide. And if a decimal repeats, we're going to use a bar. So often you can kind of see it like this, where it just goes on forever, which we'll just represent as like this to indicate that the 3 repeats. Example 1. Francisca has confined to bed rest and developed 5 original bed sores. However, now that she's taking care to move around more, 2 of the bed sores have healed. Use a decimal to indicate the ratio of bed sores that have healed. So 2 out of the 5 have healed. And so we're going to go ahead and look at this, right, division bar right here. This is division. And so we're just going to go ahead and take 2 and divide it by 5. Now, we know that 5 can't go into 2, so we can easily just, right, put that decimal there and add a 0. Now, 5 can't go into 2, but it can go into 20 4 times, because 5 times 4 is 20. We subtract, we're going to ignore the decimal, and we get 0, right? And so now we can go ahead and bring that decimal straight up. And as this is 0, we're done. And so we can now use a decimal to represent this, which would be 0.4. Now let's go ahead and look at the next example. Example 2, write 1/3 as a decimal. Well, we have 1. Now we're going to go ahead and divide it by 3. Now 1 is too small, so let's go ahead and add a decimal and a 0. 3 can go into 10 3 times. We subtract, we get 10 minus 9, so that's 1. Now we need to go ahead and add another 0. Bring that down, that's a 10. Well, 3 can go into 10 3 times. 3 times 3 is 9. We subtract and get 1 again. And so as you can see, this can go on forever, right? Because we're always going to have a 1. We bring down another 0, and then we have a 10. And 3 can go into 10 always 3 times. And so this will just continue on. So we can just write this as 0.3 with a fraction bar above it. That would be our solution. Example 3. So the trick's to convert decimals to fractions. So we're going to put the decimal over 1, and then we're going to multiply the 10 on both the top and the bottom numbers for each number there is after the decimal, and reduce if possible. So let's go ahead and look at the first example. So express 0.3 as a fraction. Well, there's one number after the decimal, so what we're going to do is put 0.3 over 1. Then we're going to go ahead and multiply it by 10 on both the top and the bottom. Now we only do 1/10 because there's only one number right after the decimal. So 0.3 times 10, well that's 3. 1 times 10 is 10. And we can go ahead and know that that's our answer because that's our reduced fraction. Now if you aren't sure that 0.3 times 10 is 3, you can go ahead and do this. You can go like this, right? That's 0, 3, and then we have 1 decimal. So we just move the decimal over right there, so that's a 3. So just know you can always go ahead and do it on the side if you need to confirm. Now let's go ahead and look at the next example. So example 4, Gabriella's patient has been admitted to the hospital with a stage 4 bed sore. If 0.85 is severely infected, represent 0.85 decimal as a fraction. So we have 0.85. First step, we're going to put it over 1. Then we're going to notice there's 2 numbers, right? So after the decimal. So that means we're going to go ahead and multiply it by 10 over 10, and then we're going to do it again. So what does that really mean? Well, it really means we're multiplying 0.85, right, over 1 times 100 over 100. Now, 1, right, times 100, well, that's going to be 100. Then we have 100, and then 0.85, which is the same thing as, right, moving it over twice. So that would be 85, or we can go ahead and do it like this. and then we have a 0, and then 2 zeros, and then an 8, 0, 0, 5, 8, right? We add it. We move the decimal over twice, so we have 85. Now 85 over 100 can definitely be reduced because both end in a, so we divide the top and bottom by 5. 85 divided by 5, we have 85 divided by 5. 5 can go to 8 one time. We subtract, we get a 3. Bring down the 5. 5 can go to 35 7 times. So we get 35, we subtract, we get 0. So 17 is on the top, and then on the bottom, 100 divided by 5 is 20. If you aren't sure, always feel free to go right. Just go like this. 5 can go to 10 2 times. We subtract, we get 0. Bring down the 0. 5 can go to 0 0 times. And now this would be our reduced fraction. Now that would be our reduced fraction and our final solution.